So when I was just starting out with these, I usually picked the side that had more terms and tried to combine them into the other side that had less terms because as a mathematician, we're more used to combining things and simplifying than taking one term and messing it up into lots of terms. But with this one, I feel like there's also a good strategy on the right side because as you look at it, hopefully everybody's looking and you can see clearly that the identity is staring you in the face. So let's start with that side first and then we'll go back and do the left side afterwards because I feel like both sides are pretty good on this to pick, but I'm going to start with the right side just because I see my identity staring me in the face and I'm going to work with it that way. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change it to cosine over sine, and I'm going to change this one to cosine squared x. Now I already see that I'm partway to where I want to go, but you can see that this is a multiply and I'm trying to actually turn it into a subtraction. I'm going to try to make it two terms. Well, looking at this, I don't really think there's any way if I combine them as they are, I'm not going to get two terms. So I must have to use some kind of identity, and hopefully everybody is familiar with your Pythagorean identities and knows that if I change cosine to a sine, it makes it two terms, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. So as I multiply, I change the cosine to sine squared, I'm going to get my two terms and I'm going to multiply through here, so distribute. And from here, again, I'm going to write this down here, what we're trying to get to, because I moved my paper up and you can't really see it anymore, but I'm trying to get to this. So I have to get rid of that sine somehow. And again, I kind of lost the cotangent that I wanted, but if I think about him like this, I'm going to keep him back like this, and then I'm going to rewrite this one. Hopefully you're seeing something wonderful as I'm writing, and if you're seeing the wonderful thing that I'm seeing, you're seeing that these signs are going to cancel out, and we're going to get the cotangent here that we wanted, and the only thing left over here is the cosine. So now we have the other side, the right side that we were looking to try to get. Now if we wanted to start on the right side first, we could also do that one. And again, what are we trying to get to? I'm going to write it down here so we remember what we're trying to get to. This was the other side. So if I start on the right side and I try to get to this left side, I guess this is the left side, sorry about that. I'm going to try to make two terms into one. And we talked about in class that if you have two things that you want to combine or they're asking you to combine, but they're not able to be combined as you see them, one strategy is to change them to fractions and then try to combine them. And that is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to find a common denominator and I'm going to try to combine these two things. And my common denominator is of course going to be sine squared x. And here you have it. Now from here I'm trying to get it to be one term, and so we talked about how either you can subtract them or another strategy that often helps you change them to one term is factoring. So I'm going to factor out a cosine here. And I'll be left with something that looks like this. And this is wonderful in two ways. Not only does it get me back this cotangent that I had hoped for, so hopefully everybody sees that I will have a cotangent here if I rewrite it this way, but it also leaves me with an identity here. This 1 minus sine squared x is actually cosine squared x, which is only one term, right? Now we have one term. But again, if we didn't know our cofunction identities, we'd probably be stuck from here, but since everybody is so clever and knows all your identities so well, you can clearly see that this one is just sine squared pi over 2 minus x, and we're done. So either way, it was just a few steps, but what you really needed to know were your cofunction identities to be able to approach this one But it really didn't make a difference which side you started from. They were both pretty reasonable, and we did it both sides in about 5 minutes, even having a big discussion.